Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hitting worryingly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by the everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropping in their midst. And why do the young collected such a comment that altogether examine the psychology of the cell phone generation? Takeda notes that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the 1970s that the home telephone passed off its cell phone number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. The disappearance of Curry's phone, however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk to the telephone in the public space and train embassies? Uh, Anger. You feel psychological violence being subjected into the private telephone space of others, a personal space of young people with makeup, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they were simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hinting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. At more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in their midst. And why do the young interconnected social commentator Total Takeda examine the psychology of the cell phone generation? Takeda notes that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephones surpassed the office cell phone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of Carol's phone, however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in the public space of train and toilet buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? Together speculate that people feel psychologically violated as being subjected to the private telephone space of others, but personal space of young women applying makeup, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they were simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. It is rolling at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. It demands psychology of seventh generation. Takeda knows that some telephone can relatively late Japan. It was not until the early 1970s. The disappearance of careless phones everywhere, telephone space becoming increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. The fight of young people feeling near to talk on the cell phone in public space, on train and buses. The little bit of background scenery, like piece of furniture on a tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hitting warningly other cracks the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in their midst. In "Why Do the Young Want to Be Connected?", socially commented Toru Takeda examines the psychology of the second generation. Takeda knows that home telephone can relatively relate to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephone passed earth telephone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of cordless phone however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. Providing young people feeling near to talk on the cell phone in public space and trains and buses, and vital their roles as such ongoing adults. The key aspect is that people feel psychological about being subjected to the private telephone space of others, as if they are not there, or worse, as if they are simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Indian learning attracts in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On one every level, other Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. In "Why Do the Young Want to Be Connected?", social commentator Toru Takeda examined the psychology of the social generation. Takeda knows that home telephone can relatively relate to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephones passed off cell phone in number. Home telephones were placed at the front door, halfway between the right and left. With the appearance of a cordless phone however, uh, why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in public space um, after being subjected to private telephone space of others, a personal press of young women can make up, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they are simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Therefore, but why do young people feel the need to public space in trains and buses? And why does and why does there and why does there are rules and why does the rules change in others? Young people feel the need to I think But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone and public space on trains and buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? Cell phone space becoming increasingly personalized, relaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in the public space on trains and buses? Why does it arouse such others? Why? But why do young? But why do young people? But why do young people? But why do young people feel the need? But why do but why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in public space of trains and buses? Talk on cell phone in public space trains and buses. It's impersonalized, climaxing in cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phones in public space on trains and buses? And why does that arouse such anger in others? Telephone space becoming increasingly personal, climaxing in cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in public space on trains and buses? And why does it uh, and why does a rose and why does the rose trigger others? On cell phone in public space in trains and buses. Why does a rose Why does some people feel the need to talk and sing about space on train and buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? In cell phone. But why young people feel the need to talk cell phone and about space on trains and buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? Public space on train and buses. And why does it arouse such anger in others? Public space, trains and buses. And why does it arouse such anger in others? Being able to talk on public space, train and buses. And why does it arouse such anger in others? Maxing in cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phones in public space and trains and buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? Together speculates that people feel psychologically bounded as being subjected to the private telephone space of others, or personal space of young people, young women apply makeup. Was as if they were simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hinting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens surrounded up in myths. And why do the young want to be connected? Social commentator Toru Takeda examined the psychology of the social generation. Takeda notes that home telephone can relatively relate to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephone passed office telephone in number. Home telephone were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private areas of the phone. With the appearance of a colorless phone, however, Telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone in public space on train buses? And why does it arouse such anger in adults? The kids are speculating that people feel psychologically violated at being subjected to the private telephone space of others, or the personal space of young women applying makeup, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they were simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being.